Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to Professor Technologist Dr. Intan Zawra Madarus, Professor Dato Insinyur Technologist Dr. Ahmad Fauzi bin Ismail, Emeritus Professor Dato Dr. Nuraini Idris, Puan Shazza Soraya Sauli, Dr. Abdullah Muhammad Nawi and Puan Nita Samuel, members of the academic community and representatives from UTM, members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Merdeka Award Trust, it is my great pleasure to welcome all of you to the 2026 Merdeka Award Talk Series Campus Edition hosted here at Universiti Teknologi Malaysia. Today's program marks two important milestones for the Merdeka Award Trust. It is our first Merdeka Award Talk Series for 2026, and more significantly, the first time that the talk series is being brought directly to a university campus. Through this inaugural campus edition, we are creating a platform where ideas, experiences, and inspiration are shared between academia, industry, and the next generation of researchers, innovators, and leaders. Since the Merdeka Award Trust's establishment in 2007 by Petronas and Shell, the Merdeka Award Trust has celebrated Malaysians whose outstanding contributions have advanced the nation across education, science, technology, health, the environment, and community development. Through the Merdeka Award and the Merdeka Award Grant for International Attachment, the Trust continues to champion excellence, encourage innovation, and nurture future leaders who will shape Malaysia's progress. Universities have always been the birthplace of discovery and innovation. They are where curiosity is nurtured, ideas are cultivated, and solutions to tomorrow's challenges begin to take shape. By bringing the talk series to campus, we hope to inspire conversations that encourage research with purpose and innovation with impact. In that spirit, today's discussion, From Lab to Life, Turning Research into Real-World Impact, reminds us that breakthrough discoveries achieve their greatest value only when they move beyond the laboratory and create meaningful change in society. Our distinguished panelists will share how research and innovation can be translated into tangible outcomes through commercialization, public policy, industry collaboration, and community engagement. Beyond celebrating these success stories, today's conversation will also explore the realities of today's research ecosystem. It will offer valuable insights for students, researchers, and aspiring innovators on navigating research funding, building multidisciplinary and international collaborations, and ensuring that their work remains relevant, sustainable, and impactful. We hope these perspectives will inspire all of you to think beyond discovery and consider how your own research and initiatives can contribute to Malaysia's future. We are especially honored to have with us an outstanding panel of speakers who embody these ideals. Professor Dato Technologist Insinyur Dr. Ahmad Fauzi bin Ismail, whose pioneering contributions to membrane technology and visionary leadership continue to advance engineering research and higher education. Professor Emeritus Dato Dr. Nuraini Idris, an advocate for STEM education, whose lifelong commitment to nurturing scientific talent has inspired generations of Malaysian learners. Puan Shazza Soraya Sauli, who brings valuable industry perspectives on innovation, sustainability, and leadership in today's evolving energy landscape. And our moderator, Dr. Abdullah bin Muhammad Nawi, who will guide today's conversation and facilitate an engaging exchange of ideas. Complementing today's panel discussion, we are also privileged to host a special session by Puan Nita Samuel from Academy Science Malaysia, entitled Mission-Oriented Research, Practical Tips for Proposal Development. This practical session will equip students and researchers with useful guidance on developing stronger research proposals, identifying funding opportunities, and aligning their ideas with national priorities. As the Merdeka Award marks its 15th edition this year, we remain committed to fostering a culture of excellence and advancing knowledge that benefits society. This inaugural campus edition reflects that commitment by bringing the Merdeka Award closer to our universities, where many of tomorrow's breakthroughs innovators, and perhaps even future Merdeka Award recipients will begin their journey. We hope today's program encourages each of you to think boldly, collaborate across disciplines, and pursue research that not only advances knowledge, but also creates meaningful and lasting impact for Malaysia and beyond. Thank you once again for joining us. I wish all of you a meaningful, engaging, and inspiring session. Thank you.
Thank you, Puan Mufidah, for that inspiring remark and also for sharing the vision behind the idea of the inaugural campus edition. Ladies and gentlemen, as co-hosts for today's program, it is now my pleasure to invite Professor Technologist Dr. Intan Zahra binti Madarus, Deputy Vice-Chancellor Academic and International, representing Universiti Teknologi Malaysia, to deliver her welcoming remarks. Dipersilakan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good morning to everyone. Yang Berusaha Puan Muhidah Mahmud, Secretary of Merdeka Award Trust. Our distinguished speakers, Professor Dato' Technologist Insinyur Dr. Ahmad Fauzi bin Ismail, mantan bos saya. Professor Emeritus Dato' Dr. Noraini binti Idris, Ms. Shazza Soraya binti Sauli, and also our favorite moderator, Dr. Abdullah bin Muhammad Nawi. Colleagues from Merdeka Award Campus Roadshow, fellow academics, I have lines of deans over there. Most importantly, our beloved students. Welcome to Universiti Teknologi Malaysia and welcome to the Merdeka Award Talk Series Campus Edition. It is my great honor and to welcome you to this special roadshow theme, From Lab to Life, Turning Research into Real-World Impact. This theme could not be more fitting to a university like UTM. We take pride in being an institution where engineering, technologies, and innovation are not confined within journals and laboratories only, but are pushed into the real world to solve real problems for industry, for community, and for the betterment of our nation. Today, we are privileged to host individuals who embody that very journey. Our very own Professor Dato' Technologist Insinyur Dr. Ahmad Fauzi, a Merdeka Award recipient from UTM, and Mustafa Prize Laureate 2023, whose work in membrane technologies has reshaped gas and also water separation industry globally. Ms. Shazza Soraya, a recipient of Merdeka Award Grant for International Attachment, representing the promise of a younger generation of researchers. And Professor Emeritus Dr. Noraini, President and Founder of the National STEM Association, whose lifelong dedication to STEM education continue to inspire young minds across Malaysia. To our students in the audience, today is not just a normal talk. This is a rare opportunity to sit with individuals who have talked the path from curiosity to discovery, from discovery to impact to the nation. Listen closely, ask questions, and let the journey challenge you to what you are thinking about your research, about your ideas, and about the effort that you can make to this world. I want to thank the Merdeka Award Trust and our founding partners for bringing this platform to our campus. Thank you very much. Initiatives like this remind us that excellence in research is not an end itself. It is a meant to serve people, industry, and nation. To our panel and moderator, thank you for your time and your generosity in sharing your wisdom and with us today. With that, I warmly welcome you once again to the Universiti Teknologi Malaysia, and I wish everyone a meaningful and inspiring session ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof, for your warm welcome and continued support in making this inaugural campus edition a reality. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the highlight of today's program, our panel discussion, From Lab to Life, Turning Research into Real-World Impact. We'll explore on how research is translated into real-world outcomes through commercialization, policymaking, industry collaboration, and community engagement. And to lead us through this conversation, it is my pleasure to invite our distinguished panel to the stage. Please welcome Dr. Abdullah bin Muhammad Nawi, our moderator for today. Together with the panelists, Prof. Fauzi, Prof. Nuraini, as well as Puan Syaza. Dipersilakan. Over to you, Dr. Abdullah.
Thank you very much, MC. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Very good morning. Assalamu alaikum to everybody. It's always great to see such a wonderful mixture of participants here. We have students, we have deans, we have professors, we have leaders, and I think we are in for a wonderful session today because it is very rare for us to be able to get a session where we can pick the brains and thoughts of such illustrious panelists like we have here today. And just a quick round of who we are before we begin. My name is Dr. Abdullah Muhammad Nawi, and I am the Manager for External and Global Engagement for the Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities. And we have to my right, Prof. Dato' Noraini, who is the founder of the STEM, what was it, Prof? STEM Association, that's right. I was going to look at the thing at the back there, but it disappeared. And she was also with UPSI and UM as well during her career. So we would be it's going to be a very interesting session. And it seems like just quite recent that you were on TV as well, doing for something for TV1, I think, was it?
We're organizing a National STEM Expo.
National STEM Expo, and that was very interesting as well, so we're going to talk about later on. And next we have, of course, Dato' Fauzi, who is my ex-big boss. And welcome, Dato'. It's been a long time since I've seen him around, and I'm so glad that he appears to be very vibrant. But then he tells me that he's going to retire soon, Dato'. Oh, never. No. So we hope that you won't leave us quite yet, hopefully, Dato'. And as everybody knows, that besides that, Dato' is also one of the pioneers in Malaysia for membrane technology. And his work is actually world famous. So we're going to have a look and see the thoughts that Dato' has to share with us. And next, we have soon-to-be Dr. Syaza. Just to let you guys know, that Puan Syaza at the moment has actually passed a viva for her PhD last month. And she is waiting for her Senate letter before we officially call her doctor. And she was the Merdeka Award recipient for 2023 for the international grant. And she actually went to the US. And I think that her research is something which is very different to what we have in Malaysia, where she talks about nature-based education. And in Malaysia, nobody goes outside because it's too hot. But when we go outside, when we go to these other countries, we're going to find that nature and things like place-based education feature greatly within their education system. So that's going to be a very interesting insight, and especially as she will soon be starting her academic career with us, hopefully, inshallah. All right, so without any further ado, let me go on to my first question. And before I begin the question, I'd just like to remind the audience to treat this as a two-way street, meaning to say that if you have questions, any burning questions, keep them until the end where you have the Q&A session. And this is your opportunity to ask some of these questions from our experienced panelists. So let's begin with the first question, shall we? And this question is to all the panelists. Now, I'll just read the question. Each of you contributes to society through different areas of expertise spanning research, education, and real-world implementation. Can you share a specific moment in your career when your research moved past the publication or a lab and directly changed a human life or community? And what did that moment teach you? Let's start with the first panelist on my right, Prof. Dato.
All right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, our lovely moderator. All right. It's really an interesting topic about from lab to life. When we talk about lab, the world we are in now is our lab. We are not only talking about lab in the school or lab in the university or lab in the industry that inventing, anything like food technology or nuclear or whatnot and all this thing. But to me, because I really into STEM education, and our Malaysian student now, the latest data also still show out of 400,000 Form 3 students, only 16% go to Form 4 STEM A, which is a pure science. So if that's the case, it's very difficult for us to, to be at par with other developed countries. Just don't have to go far. In Singapore, they are very far ahead than us. And I just back from visiting China. They are more wow, So that's why I really enjoying myself working with a project called Mini Theatre STEM. When I organized this Mini Theatre STEM, a lot of people said, Dato, you want to produce more Fatah Amin, more Piramli, or actor because of the theatre? I said, no. The meaning is that we are, if you are in the schools, if you are in university, it's a subset of the world. It's part of the world, all right? So, and then when we talk about theater, all of us are acting now in this world. The only thing is that when called mini is a subset of the whole world, and theater we are acting out. Of course, here is a mini theater STEM where we want to produce more STEM educator, STEM champion, all right? So, and then a lot of students now not able to conduct physics, chemistry lab anymore. That's why all my workshop, I'll make sure that they wear white coat. Come to my workshop, not only wear white coat, make sure that they wear coat also. They wear coat and tie. So some of the schools said, Dato, we don't wear coat here. But in my workshop, you have to come with a coat and a tie and the white coat. Because I said you have to behave like a future scientist and then also being recognized internationally. And some of the Islamic school, they wear jubah, the gown. I said you can wear your gown when you go to your school, your jubah, but when you come to my workshop, I want you to act like the international scientist. All right? So not only in terms of strengthening the concept of maths and science through our mini theatre STEM, they are also being exposed on scientific communication. So that's why I'm very glad to share with you all that some of the students started talking about, oh, this nasi lemak is good because the sodium chloride is just enough. You know, actually salt lah, salts, they think nasi lemak, this thing. So this is the scientific communication that we are instilled in our project Mini Theatre STEM. All right? So not only that, I also encourage them to involve in sports. Because why did Malaysia not able to go to FIFA? Yesterday, why did Spain win over Argentina? Okay, so I'll make it, whatever the projects that I'm doing, it's not only drilling for the concept of rules, Pythagoras theorem, quantum physics, and so forth, but I'll make sure that they'll be able to talk, to have fun, and also to relate, like now is the footballs, all right? So this is the things that make me see, and a lot of them now also has produced some innovation product. They are able to become young entrepreneur through that project Mini Theatre STEM. So, I really enjoy it. Now we have conquered 11 states, including Johor. Johor is in the phase 2 now. There are 10 schools doing our project Mini Theatre STEM with the government of Johor. And I'm also, I'm from Sekolah Ahmedin Baki, Johor Bahru. And after that, I joined Maktab Sultan Abu Bakar, the English College. My junior is the Agong now. Okay, so, but I travel from Singapore. You know, so I travel every day from Singapore to here. So I have developed 2 theories. A theories from Singapore, how the culture of learning STEM, and also in Johor, how we are learning. So I'm also very passionate to be able to become protege to the late Royal Professor Engku Aziz, because he's also from English College and also from Universiti Malaya. So all this make me more keen to help, because all my mentor is the real leaders of the countries. Then I'll see that this STEM should be able to work if all of us work together. It doesn't matter whether we are now teachers or students or university lecturers or scientists or industries. All of us has to work together. That is the theme of today. That means bring it, whatever lab, to the life. All right, I'll stop there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dato'. Very insightful comments there, where I think your advantage was being able to bring all the experience that you have from like Singapore and then try and see what you can do here as well. So very beneficial for the community. And same question to Prof. Dato' Fauzi again. Prof. Dato' Fauzi, can you share a specific moment in your career when your research moved past the theory, the labs, because I know that your work has actually changed lives in communities. And what did that moment teach you?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good morning to all. Thank you for the Merdeka Trust for inviting us, and thank you, Dr. Abdullah, for throwing the very good question. I think it started when I did my master degree in UTM Kuala Lumpur. My former, which is my guru besar, the late Professor Hamdani, is the one who gave me the opportunity. Because my background is different. I'm petroleum engineering. But for some reason, when I met Petronas staff, PRI those days, it's still in Kuala Lumpur. He's retired. Fauzi, I can see you have a talent. Why don't you continue your study, doing master? Master in what, doctor? Master in gas engineering. Gas engineering? You know, I was so curious. I'm petroleum engineering. Gas engineering, not even in UTM yet at that time. So, with whom? And he, the one proposed. Now, to cut it short, the late Professor Hamdani asked me 3 questions, which those who would like to become my student those days, I throw the same 3 questions to them. Those become my student, I already produced more than 80 PhD students. Majority of them have to pass these 3 questions the way I did before. Right? Why you choose me? Not other lecturer in the faculty, one of them. So to cut it short, I said, Prof, my background is not in membrane. I know nothing about membrane. But the word that he gave it to me, is throw it to me, Fauzi, because you are from different background, one of these fine days, you can see the technologies from a different perspective, which could be much better than us. MashaAllah. So from there, that is my motivational quote. Started from Arwah Professor Hamdani. So I always, even in the history of AMTEC, the name of Professor Hamdani is still there. So when I started to do research, well, I was funded by Petronas Research Grant. You know, I was a research assistant, a research officer, and I got my PhD, my master degree. From there, it struck my mind. When you do research, what is research? Re is to search. If someone said research, you already know, then what you need to do research anymore. Right? So whenever you want to do, you must search for something. What is the end in your mind? You do the proposal afterward, Puan Anita will guide you. What is the end of that proposal? Is it just a paper? What? For the conference? What after that? You spend a lot of money, 200,000-300,000. Like I'm now about 40 million. I got a research grant. What is the end in the mind, in your mind? So that is a question that I always have in my mind. That is the ultimate objective in your research. You should report to the community, to the people, the taxpayer money. Because the research grant that we receive, I receive, everyone receive, is from the taxpayer money. Takkan just a research paper. I know the research paper for your promotion as an academia. But beyond that, that is always, when I do the pitching to get a grant, I always said, one of those fine days, I accompany my former boss at that time to do the presentation in the ministry. So I prepared a slide. It was short. After the title, I asked my boss that time, go straight to conclusion. It was short. Title, name, conclusion. At that time, I remember Tok Pa was the minister. And after the presentation, Tok Pa, the minister, said, please follow what UTM have done, the presentation. Because we don't have time. So we need to understand who is our audience. So that is one of the way. So after my PhD, I came back. Number one that we should do, to know what is the most impactful or requirement by our country. I remember those days. I proposed proposal for water treatment. You know what they said? Fauzi, Malaysia have a lot of water. Suddenly, the entire Malaysia see ada water. No water. How? Fauzi, can you help? Why you call me? I already proposed, but why you call me? You rejected, but now why you call me? So that's why in research, we only know short term, right? Medium term, right? Long term. But we miss the number 4. Very, very long term. For sustainability. See, for example, the COVID, the vaccine, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, came from Cuba. I was informed that they have started the research 20, 30 years before the COVID. So I always mention this. We must have very, very long term, and research must have not only from bottom up, we should also have top down. That's how, when I proposed for water, it came from top down. Majority. Of course, there are some bottom up as well. Otherwise, say for example, I received an email. I show it to a few. Some states do not have enough water. Some, I think state, I want to mention state, asked me, if they use the technology that me and my team developed, is it feasible to transform the seawater into drinkable water? Because it's expensive. Number one, expensive because the content of salt 70 times, 70%, 20 times higher than the river water. But why, when there is no drinkable water available in our country, where is the cheap technology that they mentioned that they already have? Why they call UTM? That's the reason. So, research first, you must have the end in mind. Second, you must know what is the requirement by your country. Remember, I do membrane, my PhD is for gas separation. But when I came back, I study what is needed the most in my country. Then I expand, the scope into water and wastewater treatment. Inshallah. That's all.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Fauzi. Very, very interesting key takeaways there. I was especially interested in what you said when you said begin with the end in mind. For a lot of the researchers we have here, it's we have a project, we have research, we want to do research, and then let's see what we can do with the research. Whereas what you're saying is before you even start the research, you've got to have the problem and what you want to solve, and then you want to see what can you do for the country, what are the country's needs. That is absolutely, I think, what we need. And I think another key takeaway that Prof. Dato mentioned very early on was the value of interdisciplinary research, where being different from everybody else is not a weakness. In fact, it is a strength because you bring in different perspectives. Very, very, very astute observation there. Thank you very much, Prof. Dato. Right, next, Puan Shaza. Same question. Can you share a specific moment in your career or your studies when your research moved past the publication or lab and directly changed a human life or community? And what did that moment teach you?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Dr. A and Merdeka Award Trust and Universiti Teknologi Malaysia for this kind of platform. This is very wonderful to be here today with this kind of wonderful people on the same stage. So what kind of technology? But I'm not working in a lab. I'm working outside in nature. Before I start to share my experience, I have a question to all of you. When was your last time being in nature? This morning, anyone? Last night? Last month. Uh-oh. Have you heard about a term, nature deficit disorder? So nature deficit disorder, it's not a disorder has been diagnosed by the pediatrics or medical expert. No, they're not. It's actually a social destructive disorder that happened not only in Malaysia, but all around the world. And this hit our young generation most. Why? Because they are so glued with the screen nowadays. So that was my research comes in. The time when I see our young generations, I have 2 kids, I have 2 daughters. They've also been glued with the screen, of course. But I believe that small actions actually make some impact for their development. 0 to 6 years old, we call them as a golden age for young children to develop. They develop 90% of their brain development on that kind of golden age. But today, what we can see, our young generation are being stranded in a wall with the screen. But let me share with you guys the pyramid of learning. I will keep it as simple as I can. Actually started from the sensory integrations. And people said we are not actually storing our beautiful childhood memories in our brain, but in our sensories, with our hands, with our eyes, with our smells and everything. So I did a research with a very, very young children like, hey, Miss Shaza, we don't want to go outside, it's hot. Yep, exactly, it's very hot outside. But with the Merdeka Award Grant for International Attachment, I did benchmarking for a few countries in United States of America, in Australia, in Japan, to see how I can try to adapt, not 100% copy and paste, but replicate this kind of education as we call as early years environmental education in preschool in Malaysia. So how to do that? The young children cannot learn like the adults do. They can't understand like Na is a sodium chloride, all right? So they need to explore, to discover, to experience, to understand by nature-based learning. So I think how that kind of thing go far beyond of my research is when I can see our new curriculum Prasekolah 2026 already put nature walk as one of the activities, gardening, environmental sayang kepada alam sekitar, biar mereka bermain di luar. It's actually a big impact for me, and I'm working now with a collaboration project with NIE and TU. They also revamp their education to bring their children out. So it's an international collaboration with the different countries, Spain, Egypt, Malaysia, Korea, Japan, and a few countries, and I'm the collaborator from Malaysia. So I'm looking forward to see more children being outside, having fun in nature. Back to you, Dr. A.
That was amazing, I think. And one of the key takeaways that I believe here is that many young researchers often think, I'm doing research, but I'm just doing it to get a PhD. I'm doing research, I'm just getting the thesis. What many don't realize is the output of our research can actually help shape countries. And with each and every one of our panelists, they help to shape the country in different ways. And with Ms. Shaza's work, as we heard just now, it immediately changed the curriculum. And within the curriculum, within 1 or 2 generations, hopefully we have a more balanced children with less screen time. Trust me, I am struggling with my own kids. I don't know about everybody else, but the screen has become a monster on its own. And I really think that we need to do something about this. Okay, all right. Thank you very much for the first round of questions. Now, let me start with the second round of questions, and I will focus on the panelists' niche. So the second question goes to Prof. Dato' Fauzi. Now, this is especially for our aspiring researchers here. How important are industry collaborations in ensuring that research addresses real-world needs, the thing that you were talking about, and how can young researchers begin building these partnerships? We can't do this on our own, and getting money from the government is very difficult. So, Dato', please.
Yeah, thank you. It is a very tough question. Okay, when people doing research, nowadays, alhamdulillah, they are very clear, objective, because now we have sometime when we receive a grant, 500,000, for example. Those days, we always mention ROI. But now people are talking about ROV, return on value. Right? Return on investment normally being adopted by our industry partner because they are businessmen. But as a researcher, we need to understand that when we receive a grant or when we apply for a grant, why we want to apply for a grant? They must have the end in mind. You want to solve something. If you do not have that in mind, how come you can write a proposal? Right? And what is now people talking about outcome? No more output. They are not output, but more toward outcome. What difference between output and outcome? For those people, this is the same money. But output means whatever come, what will go out. You receive 500,000, your KPI, 10 papers. That is the output. What about the outcome? Outcome means the benefits to the society, the benefits to the industry, or even to a certain extent could assist in developing the socio-economy of certain countries. That is called outcome. That outcome, then, they group in, they call it value, because some expertise, like Saza mentioned just now, they are not come from the lab, but they have their outcome. Society, that's the outcome. That is why they group into the value. What is the value that you guys develop and benefit by the society? That's a value. So in order to do that, we as a researcher, we need to understand this. We need to differentiate this. Of course, when you receive a grant, people always ask the grant provider, every 3 months or 6 months, where's the report? Wow, you didn't receive this. Right? You didn't achieve this. Some provider monthly update. Monthly. Some 3 to 6 months. Normally it's about 6 months, twice a year. But some providers, they ask for 40 to 4 months one update. If you didn't receive it, could you please explain to us? So that is why it's very important for us, when we do research, apart from the output, we need also to identify the outcome. Because this outcome will be beneficial to the society than economy, industry. Now, the youngsters, right? There is a proverbs by the African. I always say, mention this and follow this. If you want to walk fast, you can walk alone. But if you want to walk far, you need to walk together. So togetherness is very important. That what we in AMTEC, we always have this. AMTEC is not only belong to us. AMTEC is belong to university. Right? Whoever in that center is belong to UTM. So because of that, we always have succession planning. For a research that you conducted, you have had, but you have do it alone, I'm not want to say forget it, but I want to say it's very difficult. In Islam, if you want a good marks, it encourages us to salat in jama'ah. But why in our everyday life work, why can't we do that? So we adopted this principle. Work together. We have a successor, a student. In fact, AMTEC, I'm the founder, but majority of them are the student of AMTEC. The second, the third, and probably the fourth or probably the fifth directors was our former student. So for the youngsters, please work together. Because initially, I knocked the door of my former mentor. Prof, I have nothing to do. I'm jobless in research. Could you please accept me as one of your researchers, member of the research group? Not the other way around. Right? Not the other way around. Understand what I'm trying to say? You as a junior, please approach the senior, but you respected. Prof, could you please accept me as one of your research member? Inshallah, in the name of Allah for mankind, will be good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Dato. So, one very interesting concept that you mentioned was output versus outcome. And I really think that that encapsulates everything. So far in academia, we are obsessed with the numbers. How many papers? What are we going to do? And with academia, with the industry, it is the ROI, it's figures and numbers. But I think what you're getting at is it's the value. What's the value of the whole thing? And in order to do that, you have to work together. Okay, thank you very much for that. Next question is to Prof. Dato' Noraini. Now, Prof. Dato', your work has focused on transforming education and promoting STEM literacy across Malaysia. I've heard you speak about these hundreds of schools so many times. How can researchers, the people here, ensure that their findings are effectively translated into classroom practices or community programs that directly benefit the next generation?
Okay. It's really, actually, it's very tough to bring in together. When we talk about education, we talk about from cradle to career. When we talk about cradle to career, we involve people from education, from school, from universities, from industry, the career. But what's happening now, when the supply from the school to do STEM is not enough to enter the universities, so there should be an initiative from the university to do several research to tap in whatever the quality from the research in the university to cascade down to the teachers, to the student. And then, then when they don't have enough students that doing STEM in the universities, then the industry, again, not enough candidate to work at the industry. For instance, now people need a lot of graduates into AI, into semiconductors, and so forth. But all the framework or it must be working together, hand to hand. But what I'm facing, one of the biggest challenge now is that it's not happening. The universities, just like Prof. Dato' Fauzi was mentioning just now, they are going more towards how many papers they are producing, how many Q1. So that when I invite them to come in to work with us on our project Mini Theatre STEM to help the young one to do the testing of the innovation, to guide them on the research base, they say, Dato', I'm so sorry, I'm still not enough, my KPI is not enough on my research, on my paper in my area. Because yours is overall on the STEM education. So, of course, I said, yeah, you can still streamline to your area. If you are in agriculture, help them on agriculture, on the innovation, on the products that related to agriculture. If you are on AI, help them on AI, helps them on IoT and all these things. But we don't have a time. So this is the very, very important changing. We should be working together in order to help Malaysia. We talk about from lab to life. If we are too focusing on individual, if we are too focusing on just your area, then we won't be helping the policy of the country. We won't be helping the expertise to be supplied to the industry. And then our industry in Malaysia, majority are still SME, small medium. The small medium also is the peoples that are working under the industry is still not strong enough to give spark or to give a better economic into our, in the country. For instance, Produa needs a lot of people in engineering, okay? And then now with the robotic and everything, AI in the industry of car. Similarly, in the aviation. So we don't have enough. So the cradle to carrier, there's a lot of breakage because of the research that what Dato' Fauzi was mentioning about outcome versus the output just now. So because all this, we are not able to successfully transferring whatever theories we have learned in the university to make sure that we be able to transfer whatever we are doing in the lab to the life. We are not just excited, okay, I have produced one system, but that system, if of no use to the industry, if of no use to the country, so then your publication, our research, just shelf. We just said, oh, I have published 500 papers. My Q1 rank, values this. But it's only short sendiri. We are not working together. We are not transferring whatever in your lab to the life. Whatever, because in the ecosystem, we need to work together. The school, the starting from the preschool, just like what Sasha was saying just now. The preschool should be, the student must be vibrant in terms of they fun, they go to the school, they play with the animals. When I visited the Japanese kindergarten, they started off, they bring the leftover food from home, they bring into the school, they feed the animals, they feed the chicken, they hold the chicken. But here in Malaysia, when I ask the children, where you get your chicken? KFC. So, where do you get your rice? Yasmin. So this is the scenario of the STEM education now in Malaysia. The student, because they are not been exposed from young, doing a little of lab work, a little of fun learning, a little of exploration. We only talk, but it's not happening. By right, the scientists must come down. The Japanese scientists, they came down to the kindergarten. They came down to the school. They work. Similarly, the industry. So this is the scenario that's happening. In January, I visited Singapore, Ngee Ann Secondary School. So in Ngee Ann Secondary School, the moment I stepped in the area, they say, okay, Dato', you please stand there. So we are putting you inside our VR or, situation. So they are already using the gadget and everything, and they understand what they are talking, what they are research on. So this is the things that really worried me here in Malaysia. When I asked in Malaysia, that even the expert also, what do you mean by AI? They never convinced me. When do AI started? They can't convince me. But in Singapore, they do. So this is the things that the researcher from the universities, we have to work together down and up with the industry. So then we can fly together. What's happening now is not. The student hate at maths. I just, from January until now, I visited around 1,000 schools that doing Form 4 at maths. That one only one class, most of the school have one class at maths, about 10 to 15 students doing at maths. And then their mark is only 9 out of 100, 15 out of 100. How to do your research? How? Dato'? So, this is the things that now, these are very good topics we are talking now. Lab to life. If the foundation is not strong enough, we are just daydreaming. So, yes, research. Yes, we want to go being a professor. Yes, definitely. But at the same time, I think university must start thinking, in order to promote the community impact of your research, must be calculated, must be mentioned in the KPI. If it's not, from lab to school, it's just short sendiri. Just, I think Datuk pun mention tadi, short sendiri. We will never go anywhere. And maths, 9 out of 100. How? Majority. That means because my project, I've been going to school, from January until now is at third week of July. That's what they are getting now in school. So what are we going to talk? What are we going to say in our research? What are we going to do in the future country? Singapore, their politicians also all graduates in mathematics, in science. That's why they be able to use, even though they don't have a natural resources like us, but they can still, their economic stable. Their money is 1 to 3. My parents are still Singaporean, I'm only a Malaysian. So when I go back for Hari Raya, I got a problem to give the Hari Raya duit. When they give to my children, okay, I can change, because one Singapore money is 3.2, but whereas mine to give my parents. So this is the scenario how that the concept of STEM, the concept of the laboratory exploration on, yes, we are talking about climate change, we are talking about food technology, we are talking about health problem. Now a lot of Malaysians are aging group. So how? All these STEMs, all this research. So how are we going to do this? So this is the things that all of us have to work together, ponder, related to what's today, how the data for the lab to the life is in Malaysia is very, very sad now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Provato. And I think some key takeaways from this. Number one that I took was there are just not enough people taking these science and maths. You said before this, how many percent? 16%? 16% altogether.
16% out of 400,000 is only 70. That's where UTM, UPM, UKM fighting to do the engineering courses or medical courses. At the end of the day, we take the international student.
So, and as you mentioned just now, even within these 16%, how many of them get 9 over 100 for admits?
Yeah, majority.
The majority. So,
that's why now, I'm sorry to add, we are doing online tuition every night. Volunteer. I said volunteer. Give free online tuition. That's what I'm doing now to make sure that their admits, mark not only better, but they understand. What is admits to do to help AI? How is admits to do the programming? So that be able to see this is what research need to be done, and a lot of things needs to do.
Dato, if you can share the link to your online tuition, I think a lot of us might be interested in sending our children.
Don't only send the children. This is not good.
Oh.
You also,
We have to go as well.
must volunteer to give the free online tuition.
Okay.
This is where the lab to life we are talking today.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. All right, so we've heard from two very experienced and distinguished members of the panel. Now has come the time to ask for the other end of the spectrum, and as an up-and-coming researcher. So this question is to Ms. Shaza. Now, as an emerging researcher, what are the primary challenges that young researchers face when trying to find corporate or government partnerships, or, like you, secure cross-border collaborations? What are some of these challenges that you've had to face?
Thank you, Dr. A. So what will be the challenges? I would say, dear friends, PhD, postgrad students, I think because we have lesser credibility, this kind of professor, they have a lot of achievements, papers, grant, and we are just starting like a baby, right? So I would say we need more, like what I can say, more opportunities from the industry, because we are small. We want to contribute back to the community. The challenges will be our credibility, because we're thinking that we are not enough to get something done. But this is when the partnership and collaboration matters. Okay, like Merdeka Award Grant for International Attachment, they gave us, me as a PhD student, to go abroad to secure broader perspective of collaborations. And I think by this journey, I learned that decision making is a very important skill that you need to have. And the second one is communication skills. Why communication skill? You have a great ideas in your mind, but if you can't articulate your ideas very, very well to the others, for example, pitching the ideas for the industry, it's going to be tough. So learn. Even I'm right now learning how to communicate clearly, to pitch our ideas clearly, so that the people are going to see that, okay, I see potential in this kind of area, so why don't you come and work with us? So back to my research area. My research area is actually interconnected or intertwined with the environmental sciences, early childhood education, and psychology. So it is really, really tough for me to speak simple language to my partner or collaborator to understand what I'm going to do right now. So communication skills matter, decision skills matter, be humble, because we do not know everything. Like what Prof. Datuk said just now, ask around, don't be shy. It's okay to be different. Even Lamin Yamar, 19 years old, he's different, right? So you have to have this kind of courage. If you believe that every single thing you do brings something good, membawa kebaikan, just do it. InsyaAllah, with that kind of goodness that you bring, akan ada orang-orang yang akan datang and give their hands for you. Akan ada orang yang akan bantu because you're doing something good. Like you are doing something breakthrough to our community, to contribute back to our community. Communicate, ask around, be humble, don't be shy, and of course, learn from the experts like we have today. So I think back to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shaza. And I think that your advice was spot on for a lot of our aspiring researchers. Number one, I was very interested when you said communication skills. That is one of the things which is actually missing in a lot of training for academics. For academics in academia, we're told to present this, write papers, and so on. But not many of us are trained to sell. That's the pitching stage. You want to pitch your ideas. And I really think that that's one of the things, one of the key skills that everyone needs to have. So thank you for the sharing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the moment that you've probably been waiting for. And now is the time for question and answer, for Q&A. And we'll probably be taking how many questions? We'll see how many. We've got around 5 to 10 minutes for this session. So questions, please. If you have a question, please walk up to, are you going to bring the microphone? Okay, all right. So one question there.
Hello. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Afif. I am one of Prof. Fauzi's student. First of all, I would like to thank and appreciate to Prof. Fauzi for accepting me as one of your students. Thank you very much, Datuk. Okay, my question is, as you said before, that most of earlier researcher especially is focus more on producing high quality journals rather than translating into real world impact, right? But however, for this purpose, translating this research into real world impact, of course, requires additional skills and sometimes a different way of thinking. So my question is, if you were starting your journey today, what would you do differently to maximize the chances that your research could, your research will create meaningful impact beyond academia? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause. The question, who are you asking that question to? Or do you want to hear from everyone? Or you want to ask specifically to one of the panelists? Everyone?
Yeah, maybe everyone.
To everyone, okay.
Is it
All right,
okay?
so it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So the question was basically, if you were to start again, what would you do? That's the gist of the question?
Yeah.
Yep, okay, all right. So I think we will let Prof, I think we will let the Tok Guru answer first, and then we will go around to the others.
Berani ditanya Tok Guru ni. Okay. In fact, Afif is Hafiz, yeah? And another one, student of mine, Mahfuz, is also teaching student in Masjidin Nabawi. So that's why whenever I give a speech or talk, I have to quote Islamic quote. Otherwise, they will, teach me. So thank you, Afif. Yeah, Afif is doing master degree and will be converting to PhD soon. Of course, whoever doing PhD in Amtech, we are not forcing anyone to do to publish paper, but the environment there. Even first year master degree, they already have paper, review paper, right? Because that environment, I only staring at my student. I never scolded them. If you don't have anything, I just stare at you, and they understand. My eyes staring, they understand. Okay? Okay. When you achieve something, let's say you publish paper. Paper is very important because academia, they develop or they publish, when they get citation, meaning that their knowledge spread around. For industry nowadays, I have experience with Petronas, Dabi. Whenever they want to collaborate with you, they already know, they search your background. What is the meaning of that? If they search your background, Ahmad Fauzman, Asian Index 1. I don't think so. They're really interested in you. I have a lot of, more than 20 million Petronas funding. They know. So paper is for us as a researcher to spread our knowledge. For the industry, they take that knowledge and they want to implement it. They want to create an impact to the society as well to industry, and to a certain extent, I always say this, to develop social economy for a certain country. So in order to do that, first, you must have your knowledge spread out. I still remember when I first came back, PhD in 1997. How old are you? 6 years old. I started getting, attached like this, conference, locally, internationally. And I spread my ideas when I meet up with people. Did you do that? At the age of 33, 34, I received 18 billion funding those days. People were shocked. Because as a young researcher, number one, you need to create your credibility, trust to the industry and to, senior, researchers or senior industrious top management. Credibility, trust, and this is very important. Please do not say, my name is Professor Dato, Dr. T.L. blah, 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 Ahmad Fauzi Ismail. Not. The industry know who you are. So please shake their hand. My name is Fauzi. I'm from UTM. They know already. Because I got experience. Industry approached me. Prof. Fauzi, we respect your knowledge. But we also have our technical capability, business capability. We capture the market. Can you capture the market by publishing a paper? That industry challenged me. So at the end, I asked him, what is the point? He said, we respect you. You also should respect us. Mutual respect, kata orang Jawa. mutual respect. It's very important. To some of us, sorry to say, I'm Professor Fauzi, you know. Me, as a Fauzi, I hate that the most. Fauzi from UTM. What is it? Oh, I'm doing membrane technology, blah, blah, blah. That's it. That is the view from the industry. Then industry, when they trust you, inshallah, the money in terms of grant will come to you. I remember, I don't want to mention one of the project that I received multi-million. I want to give it, for example, to Saza, because I have did it, said no. You want you. Because why? Trust. Because why? Credibility. Because why? I know you can deliver. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Fauzi. That very, very practical advice. And I like how you said, I'm Fauzi and that's it. Is that how you normally approach them? Just like, I'm Fauzi from UTM, that's it. It's amazing. Thank you very much for sharing. Same question to Prof. Dato' Noraini. What would your response be for that?
Okay, as a young lecturer, as a young researcher, we have to be very, very active, involved, you know, whatever conference, whatever people said, oh, I need a volunteer to do this, to do this. We have to sell ourselves. Yes, I can do it. But when you say yes, you can do it, make sure that we perform. And we know what we are talking. And, you know, so this is the things that, that's what I'm doing. From young, I'll follow. And then whenever there's people looking for assistant or whatnot and all this thing, even though I already have my PhD, I don't feel shy. I said, okay, I can do this. You know, because I want the experience. I want whatever I'm doing for my research or for whatever is of relevance on the certain time and target group. So we have to mix. And then whenever we attended this type of gathering, question, comment, suggestion, so that we be, you know, people will recognize us. Like now, I'm going to be 70 years old soon. I'm too already. I born in Merdeka year, 1957. And on the 1st of May, so I give everybody a holiday. Okay. So, like, you know, when even internationally, until now, people are, now I'm already at the stage where people are asking, okay, Samuel STEM Education Bangkok said, we want to appoint you as a senior advisor. All right. So last week, I went to Sabah. Minister of Education Science asked me, okay, Dato' Rani, we want you to become the advisor for STEM of Sabah. So all advisor now. In order to become that, we have to perform. We have to know what we are talking. We have to know what we are advising. In order to do that, we have to read a lot. We have to read and read. Where do I learn to read a lot? From the late Engku Aziz. Because he took me, at that time he's doing a project on mathematics, engineering, and for the Angkasa. He's for, you know, then he interviewed me, he said, okay, I like you. So I become his protege, and at the time he's our Vice Chancellor at Universiti of Malaya. So what I noticed is that he always carry books. And then he reads books, and then he quote a lot of things, and then he practice. That's why, you know, he introduced the Poverty Center, he introduced Tabung Haji, he introduced, name it, you know. So these the things that, then I said, how many books do you read, Pak Engku? At least 7 books a week. 7, yes. 7 books a week. So that's why I asked my master student or my PhD student, how many books you read a day? Artikel 1 pun susah lah, Datuk. I said, macam mana mau to maju? Reading is not, because whenever we want to be recognized, people want to give you money for the grant and all this thing, we must have the knowledge. Because like now, National Science Foundation US still bring me in as one of the member to do Women's in STEM. I'm dah tua dah, tapi still. So because from the moment we enter university to do research, we have to read a lot, we have to mix a lot, and then we have to travel. When young, Dato', when young, mana ada wang mau travel? I say, you travel lah, naik bus. I pun masa young lecturer, I naik bus. Sekarang je I demand lah, sebab I dah macam-macam orang lantik I, so I demand lah, you know. But to be demand, masa young dulu naik bus. And then kalau from here to US nak travel, we all kena transit so many places sebab dia punya tiket cheaper. Kalau direct flights, expensive. So you have to learn all the tricks in order to learn, in order to become recognized. We don't have to say, I'm professor, technologist, Dr. Fauzi, I'm people don't care lah, you know, so they know already. They Google yourself, they know already, you know. So these are the things that, in order to learn to mix around, we have to sacrifice a lot of things. So when last time when I travel, I bring in my periuk because I cannot eat roti. No, I have to eat rice. I'm a Malaysian paddy, you know. So I bring my own periuk, you know. I mean, as to learn to become a good researcher. It's not just become success. No, reading, sacrifice, and then cook to save money, and then a lot of things. So now only we become, I'm a Fulbright Award from US also. And then I also, I think ASEAN, for the last 13, I got Distinguished Diversity Award from US. And then Fulbright from US. And then to get to all those things, we have to work, read. And then that's why I'm telling all the students from young now. That's why all my project, they have to have the buku catatan, the action, bawa notebook lah, iPad lah. I said, okay, no problem, you have your iPad, but I still want you to write. I really like Natalia writing, you know, very good. Naik akas. Okay, do you all write or not, like what Natalia do? So that's what I'm doing also. So I'm also writing. So that's why I'm training all the students now to write. They punya a lot of student handwriting also now horrible. Because now you are betul, right? Because you are scroll down, too many things, scroll. So you to write, to present. Because scientifically proven, when you write, the things flow here to the brain. Okay. So I think these are the things that a lot of hard work, sacrifice, and then meet and with all those mix around with all the excellent, successful people, then you will be there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. Very, very practical advice. Starting from, in fact, I think there's a very common theme, which is don't think you're too big. You're going to start somewhere, be humble, start where you start. And then things will come. I think that's a very common theme that's happening right now. So ladies and gentlemen, we're running out of time. So we're just going to, no, but I'd like to hear from Shaza as well. And after that, we will have one more question to one person. And that's it, okay? All right, Shaza, please share yours because you are still fresh from the journey, please.
Thank you, Dr. A. Thank you for the questions, Hafif. So basically, I think I'm not really layak to share because I'm so baby, just started the journey like you do. But I would say the first one, say yes to any opportunities. Please say yes. Because from that, you're going to learn, unlearn, relearn, be humble. So that kind of thing, when people are gonna come to you and ask, would you like to come and join me for this project, for example, even though it's gonna be so hard at first, slowly, it's all right. It's all right to relearn. It's all right to unlearn. And I would say always seek advice from adults, from the expert. Even I'm also need to learn every day untuk Profesor, Datuk, semua dekat sini. Kalau saya salah, tolong tegur saya. Because I think kita orang muda, tak adalah muda sangat kan. Kita orang baru dalam industri. We are very, very young people in the industry, in the academia. We need to learn from Professor Dato, Professor Emeritus, Dr. Ian, everyone. Tegur saya kalau saya salah. And then learn to share. This is some things that I think relate with my childhood because I come from the very poor family. I have to make decision by myself. For example, when I want to enter the foundation study degree, I have to go alone by bus. So every single thing I have to make it by myself. So I love to keep everything secret by me. I don't want make my parents to burden. I need to find money. I need to do everything by me. So by that things, I learned to relearn that I have to share. Keep sharing. If you have problem, go back to your supervisors. Go back to your mentor. Ask. Don't be like me. Because I think like when I keep everything by me and by myself, I feel like, oh no, I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail. So try to ask around. Try to share. Try to be humble. And inshallah, many good people are going to come and help us in any way. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Shaza. Very fresh perspective from somebody who's still fresh within the field. Thank you for your sharing, ladies and gentlemen. We have time for one more question. I think it's there already. And please tell us the question and who you want to ask the question to.
Assalamualaikum and very good morning to all. My name is Muhammad Razif bin Muhammad Ramli. I'm from Faculty of Chemical and Energy Engineering. My question is specifically to Prof. Dato' Fauzi. I want to ask you because I went through your profile and noticed that you are the one of the recipients of Science and Technology Research Partnership for Sustainable Development SATRAC grant, the collaborative research grant between Malaysia and Japan. So since currently the RMC is open for submission of proposal, can you like share to us what is the tips and whatever can we highlight inside the grant, and what is, in your opinions, what is the priority that we can address in the submission of the proposal? Thank you so much.
Terima kasih. Thank you very much. Nak cari tip, habislah duit saya bagi tip kat awak. Okay, it's a very important question. Yeah, for SATRAP is very difficult to get, right? We receive about 20 over million, and in one proposal, okay, number one, you need to understand the SDG. How many SDG in the world? Tak naik profesor dia lah. Tak. Kalau saya duduk situ tak naik lah. Saya gurau. There's 17 SDG. And which SDG that you would like to address in your proposal? And in one SATRAC proposal, normally, like our project, we propose 4 sub-projects or 4 technologies that going the outcome of that projects. And we need to identify our industry partner. Without an industry partner, it's difficult for you to get the grant. That is the JICA and the JST, Japan Science Technology Ministry, some of their requirement. You know, industry partner, technology, 3, 4, 5 technology that you, at the end of the project, that you can develop. And normally, they will ask you to develop a pilot plan. So pilot plan is very important. If you did not manage or did not able to deliver, then tak berjaya lah. Itu antara beberapa tips lah. And part 5, 4, 5 technologies is normally is difficult. That's why you need a group. Is one you alone is difficult. So normally our project is multidisciplinary. We have our faculty of science faculty. We have also civil. We have also mechanical, electrical, if I'm not mistaken. So multidisciplinary. Okay? All the best, inshallah.
Thank you very much, Purato. And ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for our panelists. Thank you very much. And I now pass the floor back to the MC.
Thank you, Dr. Abdullah, and to the panel. It was a very engaging session, but not to worry. The panel will still be around after this, so if you have more follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to them, have a chat with them after the session, over lunch, and you can continue on the conversation later on. So right now, before we move on to the next session, I'd like to invite the panel as well as Puan Nitya and Puan Mufida on stage for just a quick photo op before we move on to the session and sharing by Academy Science Malaysia. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much to all the panel and to our moderator for today. Thank you very much on behalf of the Merdeka Award Trust. Puan Nitya, if you may kindly please remain on stage for the next session. So to complement today's discussion, we now move on to our special session entitled Mission-Oriented Research, Practical Tips for Proposal Development. So those of you who have questions, especially on how to leverage or how to amplify your proposal, Puan Nitya is here to answer and to give a brief presentation. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Puan Nitya Samuel from Academy Science Malaysia. Over to you, Puan.
Okay, very good morning. Salam sejahtera to everyone. Thank you to UTM and also Merdeka Award Secretariat for inviting the Academy of Sciences Malaysia to share a few insights on how we approach transformational impact through research in Malaysia today. If you notice that the topic that I have put up is actually mission-oriented research, practical tips. So it's not going to be prescriptive about how to develop a proposal per se, but it's a different mindset shift, all right? Because I think all of you who are, seasoned researchers, some just starting, you know how to develop a good proposal. But what goes into that, what kind of mindset should we have, is what shapes the proposal, right? So I think I am in quite a pressurized spot right now because I can think of a few reasons for that. Firstly, you've just had a very stellar panel. Thank you to both, to everyone on the panel. I think it was very insightful and very practical. And two of the panelists, okay, Professor Datuk Fauzi and also Professor Datuk Nuraini, are both fellows of the Academy of Sciences Malaysia. And they are very active and they've been contributing. Professor Datuk Fauzi is the advisor of the Southern Chapter of ASM. Prof. Datuk Nuraini is the chair of the steering committee on the National Science Challenge. That has this year, for the first time, broken the record and drawn almost 56,000+ students across Malaysia. All right, and that's this year we've really broken the record under Prof. Datuk Nuraini's leadership, and that's a good sign. We hope more students will take up STEM. And YBPM has agreed to come and officiate the grand final, which will be happening on the 7th of September. So with that, next. I just want to take a little bit of your time to just give you a quick understanding of what the Academy of Sciences Malaysia is all about and why maybe UTM and Merdeka Award Secretariat has asked ASM to actually share some insights. So let's watch this video. All right, so that sets the stage for, I hope, has given you quite a bit of an understanding of ASM. If you notice from the video that we are really all about going down to the ground. And that's where the lab to life comes up. And our fellows are not only made up of researchers, academics, but we also have industry practitioners. And we not only have science disciplines, one of the 8 disciplines of ASM is also social sciences and humanities. So for those of you in the social science and humanities, please see that your work is also very relevant, especially in translating solutions to the localities. And in behavioral sciences, how do you get people to actually come on board, right? So with that, let me just go to the next slide. Okay, I'm just going to take it through very quickly because we are short of time, and I do believe that some of you here would have stayed up to watch the World Cup final, and the tiredness might just be kicking in, all right, and I'm standing between you and lunch. So let me just quickly go through. Don't worry about the slides. If you feel a bit overwhelmed, we can always share the slides. We can go through the details. You can always email me if you have questions. All right, why is this important when you talk about research? We're talking about mission-oriented research. So it's anchored in a mission. It's not just research for the sake of research, research to produce papers, but to actually produce solutions and create impact. So what kind of a world do we live in today? We are in post-normal times, and you do see a lot of complexity, chaos, and contradictions. That's a fact. So when you see that, it creates a lot of uncertainty. But in research, the whole idea is to actually discover something, and often we follow a very linear path because we are trained to think analytically, we are trained to think in that way. But today, when you talk about mission-oriented research, it's no longer a linear path. So that's why we're saying it's not about, you need to explore non-linear approaches. And how do you do that? We have a process that we share, and if you are interested, you can always talk to us. And it's also about transdisciplinary research. It's not just about one researcher's field. It's not about one person, just like the panel shared just now. It's about collaboration. It's about sharing. It's about coming together. Right, next slide. Okay, this actually paints a picture of Malaysia's ecosystem. This was published in the Science Outlook 2020, which is a flagship of the Academy of Sciences Malaysia, flagship study. We are coming up with a new one by the end of this year, Science Outlook 2025. What does this tell us? So for 10 years of the data that we looked at, for 20 years, almost 20 years of the data that we looked at, the STI, Science, Technology, Innovation ecosystem was stagnant, right? In terms of inputs and in terms of outputs. But where has Malaysia been making the mark? If you look at the blue lines, we have been growing economically, all right? That's a good thing, right? But the economic growth is many times at the expense of societal well-being and the environment. So that's not so good. So why do we need to know this? Because when you do your research, when you want to come up with a mission or think about the end game of your research, you need to address this. We need a balanced development trajectory. All right, next slide. This is the landscape of the country in SEIE. We have many policies related to science, technology, innovation. 96, at least, that we know, that we track across 27 ministries. We have many national councils. We have businesses, but just look at the businesses here, 814 companies listed in Bursa Malaysia, but only 63 are tech companies. Only 63. How can your research change that? Okay. Next, when we look at the research, the knowledge workers, the researchers, 54.9 researchers per 10,000 workforce, okay? That's quite a good number, all right, for a upper middle income country. But 70% or more of researchers are in universities and research institutes. The number was actually higher, it was 80%. Now it's slowly improving. Whereas if we look at our other innovative countries, even ASEAN countries, all right? Our neighbors, Thailand, for example, they have about 60%, 50 to 60% of their researchers in business enterprise. So I hope many of you postgraduates who are here, when you get your PhDs, I hope you will consider going into industry and working, not just sticking with academia, to change that landscape. So make your research relevant from the start, right? We have many entities doing R&D, but if you look at business enterprises, right, less than 1% of them actually do the R&D in Malaysia. So these are things that we want to address and change. So you need to keep this in mind so that you have an end game when you come up with your proposal or your mission project. Next slide. This is just a snapshot of where ASM is. I'm not going to go into all the details, but just to say that when we talk about science and technology, we don't look at it in isolation. We have to consider the geopolitics that's related. You have to consider society and culture, because society and culture is going to be the beneficiary of what you do in research. You have to consider economy and finance, because that's where the impact is going to come from, right? So that's what we did when we did our foresight. And we've gone through this process. Right now, the latest that we are working on is a mission-oriented initiative to create transformational impact in the country. I will come to that later and talk a bit more on that. Next slide. Okay, so we are talking about mission-oriented approach. It is different from a business-as-usual approach. For example, today, you may find that individual researcher interest may drive a research. But in a mission-oriented approach, you want to see integrated solutions. You want to address national grand challenges, not just a research problem. So how do you change your mindset to see the bigger picture, right? Another one, you may think about specialized expertise leading to limited solutions. That's the business as usual. Often when you want to do a proposal or a research proposal, you'll think about what kind of competencies I need, what kind of knowledge is needed, what kind of experts I need. But do you also think about the multidisciplinary or transdisciplinary expertise leading to integrated solutions? As I mentioned just now, it's not just about the natural sciences. You may also need humanities and social sciences in your team if you want to translate solutions on the ground, right? So this is where I think we need to have a different mindset when we start thinking about mission-oriented research. Next slide. So this one just shows the, excuse me. Thank you. Sorry. Okay, so this one, I think you all are very familiar. This is a business as usual, how you do a research proposal. You ideate, you propose, and then you get all the approvals, the IP, the clearance, and then you execute, you carry out the research project, you monitor, and then you translate to whatever output that you wanted, if it is publication, or you want to do a project or pilots, and then you close it, right? But what about what impact it created for the country, for a community? And when we say impact, it's beyond outputs, outcomes. Impact is about what changes on the ground. Did we start doing something differently? And if you notice, who is typically involved in creating a research project or a proposal like this? Usually you'll have the principal investigator, you will have the faculty research center, you'll probably have the RMC, ethics committees, whatnot, innovation, commercialization center, partners, funders, where industry may come in. What about community? What about government? What about your stakeholders? Where is the government policy knowledge coming in? When you do a research, how does it relate to the government policy? Maybe some of you who are working in the energy sector will know about National Energy Transition Roadmap, because your research has to produce decarbonization outcomes that relate to that roadmap. But what about other related national policies? So you need to think of that and not just follow a business as usual route. Next slide. So what is a mission-oriented approach? Firstly, it's about co-creating. How do you co-create? For example, Shaza was saying about nature-based solutions. How do you co-create? You need to talk to communities who live in nature, for example, right? The Academy, ASM just published the National Planetary Health Action Plan last year. All right, it's available online, you can look it up. One of the key result areas is actually research and education. And under research and education, overall, we emphasize 4 things. One is, it needs to be humanity-centric. And I think being humanity-centric is very well aligned to UTM's tagline, right? Kerana Tuhan untuk manusia, right? And then secondly, it needs to be nature-based, because we're talking about the planet and we are putting people's well-being and health at the center. And we are saying, if you don't take care of your planet, how are you going to ensure people's well-being? How does that feature in the research that you are doing? That's a question that we need to ask. All right? Thirdly, it's also values-driven. How does your research portray or drive certain values that you want to see in people, right? And then it's, of course, SDI-enabled. So these are examples of how you co-create. You need to talk to the stakeholders. You need to engage. And there has to be a tilt toward a certain direction. For example, maybe from Dato' Fauzi's research, he's saying, Malaysia has the knowledge, has the expertise, has the technology. We talk about desalination, and there's such a misconstrued view that it's expensive. Actually, today, I think the cost has come down and is so much more manageable. And I work a lot across ministries, and ASM just developed the National Blue Economy Blueprint for one of the key ministries. Again, we had a lot of pushback when it came to desalination. I was sharing with Prof. Dato' Fauzi this morning, and he's well aware. Why? Because everybody thinks that it's so expensive. And Malaysia doesn't need it because we have a lot of water. You know, the Foresight report says that the wars of the future may actually be about water, not about technology. We can still survive without food, but you can't survive without water. So just because we have water today doesn't mean it will be the same in the future with climate change and whatnot. So how do we have a long-term thinking and preparedness into the future? How do we translate that? Even ministries, they're not willing to take that up. It took a lot of convincing to actually include that desalination there because we need it for the future under blue economy, right? Then we talk about welcoming uncertainty. Yes, we face a lot of uncertainties, but the idea of research is not to avoid uncertainty, but to embrace the uncertainty and give solutions that are practical. So we need to have that sort of a mindset. And then work with the willing. You will not find everybody come on board and on the bandwagon and work. Doesn't matter. You know, our president, Dato' Tengku Azman, ASM president, and also the science advisor to the Prime Minister, he will always tell us, use the Pareto principle. Work with the willing. It's okay. If you have the 80-20, you have the 20% that's willing to make a change. Work with the 20% first. So when you put your team together, think about that, right? Next slide. Okay, so when we talk about missions, we generally have three layers, all right? And this is how a mission economy, this is based on Professor Mariana Mazzucato's book, all right, Mission Economy. You may look it up, please read it. It's quite an insightful book and a model. So the first layer is a mission economy, which is a system level. This one, we work with government to do it. Because this is policy makers, decision makers, how are they taking the systems approach, how are they shaping the economy and the market of the country and so on. What ASM is working on at the moment is the second layer, which is mission-oriented initiatives. So we are doing this at the program level, all right? And this is where we come up with clear missions. Where your expertise will be relevant is actually at the third layer, which is mission-oriented R&D and innovation. This is where the mission projects are mainly research projects. So how do we integrate it to give the overall? And as Prof. Dato' Fauzi said, it's working top-down and bottom-up. There is a role for everyone. But you need to be having that sort of a mindset. And sometimes you need to be in the right place at the right time. And you need to read outside your field. Otherwise, you wouldn't know about the policies of the country. You wouldn't know. For example, we work a lot with Young Scientists Network of ASM. I think Dr. Nubiha knows. One of the things that we see is they know a lot in their field. But outside of the field, maybe because they really don't have the time, but when we want to do mission-oriented research, we can't escape that. You need to read beyond your field so that you can make the connection to your field. And you'll be surprised that some of the connections that come forth are very, very transformative. Right? Next slide. Okay, so this is the process that I was saying. This is how ASM does it for our mission-oriented initiatives. So we go through this whole thing. I mean, this is adopted from NESTA, which is a UK innovation organization, but we've adapted and customized to the way ASM does it. Because for ASM, when we do our studies, our policy research, two things are very important. One is it has to be evidence-based. So we need to crunch the data. We need to find the numbers. We need to find the evidence, whether it's qualitative or quantitative, to support and back up what we say. That is why when we present to policymakers, they see the numbers, and then they see the data, and then they make evidence-based decision. Same thing, if they say desalination is expensive, we need to show them the numbers. Is it really that expensive compared to what other things the country invests in? That's the question. So we need to show them that comparison, right? So we dialogue a lot. The second element, one is evidence-based. The second one is we do extensive stakeholder engagements. You will see just one of the examples of stakeholder engagements later. We dialogue a lot across the board. We talk about a quintuple helix. We talk about government. We talk about academia, researchers. We talk with industry. We bring them on board, community. And we also think about the planet, about environment. What is the impact? I mean, the environment planet doesn't have a voice of its own. We are the voice for the planet. So we bring that element in as well. Secondly, we do that diagnosing. We do a lot of focus group discussions. We map the stakeholders. We do the mapping to diagnose what really is the issue. you'll be surprised. Sometimes the issues that come out are actually things that we never thought was the real issue. I'll talk a bit about that later. Then we discover, okay, how do we address this for the nation? Then you define your project, your mission. What do you want to do? Then we develop it together as a team, and we deliver. The difference between this is, and the normal way we do a research proposal, you're not coming up with a proposal to just get a grant or a funding. Though financing is important, but if you have a clear, good mission, the money will find you, not the other way around. That has been our experience. For some of you who are young and starting off, I know that sometimes getting that funds is a challenge. That's where you need to link up with those who have that experience, who have that stature, and who have that networks to actually connect you, right? And that's how we deliver the mission. Next slide. Okay. Why do I say this is important? This is an example of how we dialogue and diagnose. These are all national plans and policies. We look at so many of them to identify what is the grand challenge the nation is facing. Then we come up with a mission, in your case, a project, a proposal, whatever, to address that so that it is relevant to what is needed by the country. But if we don't look at our policies, if we don't look at our roadmaps, if we don't understand the ecosystem of the country, how are we going to stay relevant? How are we going to make sure that we can make a difference? Right? Next. This is just an example of one of the stakeholder engagements we did for our mission-oriented initiative. This is an example of how we do dialoguing, right? So you can see over 808 stakeholders, advanced semiconductor industry, food sovereignty, value creation, these are all the missions, right? The number of people that we talk to just to develop one mission is a lot. And I remember that we had, next slide, please. Okay, this is another example. We map the stakeholders across this so that we know who we are talking to. These are just examples for you, but what I'm saying is you need to map out your stakeholders for your mission, for your researchers, for your research project. Next. Okay, so again, we have those policies and everything. This is how we identified the National Mission-Oriented Initiative. Next. Okay, these are 7 National Mission-Oriented Initiatives that was just approved at the National Science Council, chaired by the Prime Minister on 11th of May. So ASM is now championing these 7, and we are working across the board with our fellows who are leading it, and many involved industry and community as well. Some things really surprised us when we did our stakeholder engagement. For example, in food sovereignty and security, one of the mission is to increase the paddy yield in the country. For those of you who like eating rice, that is our staple food, right? But if there is any geopolitical tension, the first thing any country will pull back and stop exporting is rice. We faced that during COVID. Thailand didn't want to supply rice to Malaysia. India didn't want to supply rice to Malaysia. So we have to see how to build that self-sustainability level. Right now, in food security, sovereignty and security, we produce average 3.5 tons per hectare. The mission is to increase it to 7 tons per hectare by 2040, I think. Why is this important? When we did our stakeholder engagement, we had people, farmers, right? And these are not your normal day-to-day farmers that you think don't know anything what they're doing in the paddy field. These are well-educated, learned farmers. We had one person from Besut. And he said, what's the big deal? I'm already producing 10 tons per hectare in my paddy field. What's the big deal? But they are out of the system. They don't use the subsidized fertilizer. They don't go by what is standard. They do things differently. If you talk about Sekinchan, the yield is also about 8 to 10 tons per hectare. Same thing. They have a cooperative. They get their own fertilizer. So what's really going on? Then we also noticed, or we were informed during the stakeholder engagement, to introduce a new paddy variety in Malaysia. A lot of universities have new paddy varieties. UPM is one of them. But the process to introduce it in Malaysia, oh my goodness, it takes up to, can you guess how many years? Sorry? Close. It takes 15 years. Our other neighboring countries, including the Philippines and all, max 2 years. With field trials, everything. The 15 years is with field trials, everything. Majority of the part is somewhere stuck down the pipeline, and then it's bureaucracy. So we're trying to address that in the mission-oriented initiative. How do you link that to the work that you do? Do you have a faster approach for field trials, maybe? How can we do that differently, right? Then when we talk about digital healthcare, our electronic medical record percentage in the country, in government hospitals or facilities, 14.7%. And we've been doing this, 14.7%, we've been doing this for years. When we talk to all the stakeholders, they tell us, we've done so many pilots, but everything stops at a pilot, nothing is scaled up. Why? Digital healthcare is, you look at the technology, it's not that complicated. The interoperability, not that complicated. Yes, we have legacy systems we need to transform, but what's the real issue? That's what we need to address, okay? Energy sovereignty and security is another one. Taking a different approach to realizing the outcomes that National Energy Transition Roadmap is looking at. And of course, we're working with UTP Chair, Engineer Firoz. All right, next. This is just to give you a snapshot. Just now I mentioned the missions, right? So under each of those, you have a mission. And this is the part where we talk about define and develop. So these are all ongoing right now, okay? Next. So again, you come to finance. I already said, if you have a good mission that makes the case for the country, the finance will come to you. But we have to find that relevance and we have to position ourselves correctly, right? Sometimes we try to think of it as everyone is dressed up to go to a party, but we don't know where the party is. Sometimes our research landscape and our scientific community is like that. So how do you get to know where the party is? You have to talk to the right people. You have to know what's happening in the country. You have to know the policies. You have to know what's happening. And then you make those connections. Then you will be at the right place at the right time to actually come up with that mission that is relevant for the country. Next slide. Okay, this looks very complex. Please don't be bothered by or be overwhelmed by that, but very quickly, this is what we mean when we say develop. This is a mission map. If you notice, you have a grand challenge that we want to address. This is a mission that is actually led by industry, and ASM is working with the semiconductor industries, all right? So what do they want to do? In our national semiconductor strategy, the government has said, make Malaysia a preferred destination for advanced packaging in semiconductor. Why advanced packaging? Because for 50 over years, the semiconductor industry in Malaysia has been focusing on OSAT, which is assembly and test. We need to move up the value chain. Why advanced packaging? Today, we are talking about chips for AI, for GPUs. You need them to be faster, so speed is a key issue. You need them to be heat resistant. You need them to be miniaturized because they need to go into your watch, into all these minute devices. How are you going to do that? So we cannot do the traditional chip. You need to do the advanced packaging which actually stacks the layers on the chip. So it's like building a condominium. Your base is still the same size. At least that's how I understand it from the layman perspective, okay? All right, so the mission that the industry came up with is achieve 5 billion, 7% of worldwide advanced packaging by 2035. So this tells us how to measure success. And they are working with researchers in at least 2 universities across the country, okay? And we are working with these industries, 5 industries, who are actually competitors among themselves, but how do they come together to work in a mission? Yeah, they have proprietary information, but nobody asked them to share proprietary information. We only ask them to share what is relevant to the mission. And some of them already have a customer, MNC, who wants to buy the chip once it's ready. Now, even as they start the project. Second, they also have investor coming in for the scale-up phase. The best part of this is, it is a matching fund between government and industry. These 5 companies came together and put in 93 million. ASM matched through the Malaysia Science Foundation, which is actually government matching, 92 million. So it's a 185 million project, which is going on right now. Okay? An example of how you can package your projects with a clear mission and an outcome, beyond just publications, but transformational impact at the national level. So this is what we want to look at, all right? Next. So we have this IRL that ASM has developed. We call it the Innovation Readiness Level. Many of you who in the technology space, you'll be familiar with the Technology Readiness Level that has 9 dimensions. We have gone beyond. Why? Today, we cannot just talk about technology. Technology is the easiest part to solve. It is the other dynamics that often become an issue. So when you talk about innovation translation, lab to market, we have to talk about other dimensions. Next slide. Okay, and the other dimensions here are split into 4 categories. So technology is there, but under technology, you don't just look at technology readiness level, but you look at integration readiness level, how the different technologies come together in the project, in the mission. And you look at IP, how the IP readiness level is going to drive that mission as well. Similarly, we say know your technology. We also say know yourself, which is about the team that you have. Funding readiness, storytelling, business readiness. Just now we talked about the importance, the panel mentioned importance of communicating clearly. That's the storytelling. So we have to look at these dimensions in a mission, not just technology. So if you solve the technology equation, it still doesn't go. Why? Because you need all of this to come together. All right? So this is actually available online on the ASM website, and the dimensions are there. You're free to use it as a framework, and we even say how you measure each one. All right? Of course, there's business readiness, customer readiness, and there's a mission-oriented readiness level too. So I invite all of you to explore this. I won't go into the details due to the lack of time. But this is an example of what the industry themselves did, the semiconductor industry. So they mapped, if you look at the green, now they are there. But by 2035, they will go to the yellow. And they will measure each of those to show success. That's how we measure success. All right, next. This again is how they map the readiness levels across their project plan. Okay, how they want to translate from one to another. Next. All right, just now we talked about having the end in mind. Excellent point. I mean, many of the panel members emphasize that. When you start your project at the research value chain, do you think of the economy? Do you think of the commercialization? Do you have the end in mind? And if you want to realize that end, who are the people you need to talk to? When do you pass the baton? For example, should researchers be the ones looking for money, or should it be someone else to fund the next phase? Who should you talk to? How do you position it? Those are the considerations we look at in a mission-oriented research. Next. All right, so forging mission-oriented approach, few keys, all right? First, we need those clear objectives. They are very important. Frame the mission, not the research. What is the mission? For example, when we wanted to put a man on the moon, they framed the mission, not the research. Then they saw what are the different components that come together in that mission, right? Integrated, multidisciplinary, or transdisciplinary, as you have it. Mobilize the ecosystem. You need the agile teams. You need people working together. Collaborative efforts. Collaboration is the word of the day. I think we've heard it a lot today. So how do you actually make collaboration work? I speak a lot with researchers in universities and industry. University will tell us, we have been collaborating across the board for years and years. We know collaboration is important. We always collaborate. But how are you collaborating? For example, they come up with a research proposal, then they will call somebody from industry. Can you come in this research? Because we need an industry partner. But what is the industry partner actually contributing to the research? Nobody knows. And that's not true, meaningful collaboration. Those collaborations that really fly are the ones that are done by design, not by chance. So we need to take that approach. Long-term investment is needed, so you need to see beyond your 2-year research grant, your 3-year research grant. How do you pass the baton to the next phase? Navigate the machinery, procurement policy, alignment, institutional support, break the silos, and as I said, humanity-centric design. Involve the end users. For example, if you have an educational technology solution, who's going to use it? Have you involved them in developing the solution? Or at the end, after you develop, then you do a user acceptance test. And you say, do you like this solution? Will you take it up? It's too late. Involve your users right from the start. Continuous impact monitoring and adaptation is very important. That's why we don't do very well in implementation. We have great policies because we don't really look for continuous impact monitoring and adaptation. Next. I think this is my last slide. So when you talk about research, you want it eventually to move to innovation. So the question is, what will move this solution into impactful real use? But you don't ask this question at the end of the research project. You ask this question when you are thinking about your mission, when you're thinking about your proposal. And then the practical shift is move from my research output to our impactful solution. How do we deliver impactful solutions? So I think the examples that the panel shared is all about this, how they develop and deliver and translate into impactful solutions. So frame the use case, yes. De-risk the pathway, talk to people, build networks, work together, and prove and do the pilots, do the testing. More than anything, never give up. Knock on many, many doors, especially for those young and aspiring researchers. There's a certain resilience that you need to make it, to thrive. And that resilience is really valuable. And many of us have been in the school of hard knocks, even in policy research. ASM today, just now in the video, you would have noticed we have 80% uptake by government for the recommendations that we have made. But it was not an easy journey. Sometimes 5 years after we have done one study, then only they suddenly wake up and realize, oh, okay, this is important. Then you see the uptake. So we continuously monitor. Similarly for your research. So never, never give up. You don't know when it will be relevant. So keep at it and think differently with the end in mind. Just as Stephen Covey says, right? It's very important to have the end in mind. All right, I think that's the last slide. With that, thank you. So I leave you with this quote from Mariana Mazzucato. If it is not difficult to achieve, then it's not a mission. So don't be afraid when it's difficult. Just keep at it. Thank you.
Thank you, Puan Nitya. Once again, on behalf of the Trust, thank you very much. Have a pleasant day ahead.